Yay! Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday. I'm coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina. I've got Miss Charlotte on my lap here. And then we have Rosa, who is the founder, creator, entrepreneur from living in San Francisco and
Right.
introducing Wild Wonder, which I have now been talking about since the summer, since we partnered on the She Can campaign, which I absolutely love. We can touch briefly on that. But hi, everybody in the group. You can add your questions to the Facebook, right below, or maybe you're catching the replay. So I'm going to start by just saying hi to Rosa. We want to hear a little bit about you, but starting with where you are from and what you were doing before Wild Wonder.
Sure. Yeah. So obviously the brand is heritage inspired. It's actually inspired by my Chinese grandma. So I was born in Beijing, in China. I lived there for about 12 years, so spent my childhood there. And I'll tell you more about, how we spent a childhood together, inspired, obviously all the stories are from grandma, and moved here when I was 12. So pretty much been all over the place since then. I lived in the Midwest. My parents are still there. I lived on the East Coast in New York, and I moved to San Francisco about 10 years ago. So yeah, I've been loving it here. Like the West Coast, love all the fresh produce in California, which is also part of the brand story as well.
Oh, awesome. Well, so well-traveled. We also share a love for San Francisco, and we both went to Stanford. I was there for undergrad.
Right.
You were there for so go card.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your life story kind of leading up. Like, tell us a little bit about grandma and your childhood so that we know a little bit about how Wild Wonder started before coming alive in San Francisco.
Yeah, for sure. So I think this is actually ties very well to the history of the brand because, growing up, my grandma would brew these healing tonics with wild herbs and plants that were really good for my health. So I just remember, coming home from school or hanging outside, she would greet me with a cup of tea with a bunch of random things I didn't know at the time. Some of them didn't really taste that great, but they were really good for me, calming my stress, lifting my spirits, and helping with digestion. So she's really taught me the philosophy of food as medicine from a very early age. I'm a foodie, so obviously I don't believe you need to give up taste for health. I always look for delicious things. And so that really inspired Wild Wonder. And for those who don't know, Wild Wonder is a heritage inspired sparkling drink, as you can see in the back. We combine Eastern herbal wisdom and gut healing superfoods with whimsical flavors like guava rose, mango turmeric, peach ginger, combining botanicals and fruit. I like to say it's rooted in culture and tastes like a California produce stand. So you see the Chinese tradition combined with what California fresh, which where I am, we use all fresh produce. We basically combine the juices and purees with a lot of really good for you ingredients, from herbs, botanicals that give you the prebiotic, the probiotic, and all sorts of benefits. Growing up, I had a lot of these teas and herbs served to me. And that was really the foundation of, Wild Wonder.
That's so interesting. Now, when you were a child, did you have to acquire the taste, or was it already like, oh, these are delicious, grandma? Or were you like, okay, grandma?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a wide range. There are tonics that she would brew in the kitchen that would stink up the whole house. And it's, you really have to just pinch your nose and like get it down, and it's tough. So those are more on like the serious side, so like Chinese herbal medicine, Eastern medicine. So there's some mushrooms in there. There's like various things I don't really remember the name of. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there's also the more palatable teas and herbs, right? So we know some of the stuff today, like goji berry. There's various kinds of, black teas and herbal teas. A lot of ingredients people are more familiar with today. Those are more palatable, and I would say those are more for everyday consumption. So just kind of like your cup of tea, with your morning breakfast or after dinner for digestion. So it's all sorts of concoctions that were served to me.
Okay. So now as you got older, you were thinking back to the healthy nature, probably thinking also some of your favorite flavors coming out of there. You did an excellent job with, they're all so delicious. Like,
oh, thank you. Thank you.
I do not have a favorite. I'm down to my last can. This is my second box, but this is like, they're all so good. Can you have more than one a day? Like, is there like a max you can have?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the whole point is have many as you can.
Okay.
You can get plenty of fiber from there as well. And there's not too much sugar, so you don't have to feel guilty about drinking it. So there's no limit. The whole point of making it palatable is not as sweet as a 100% juice, right? Or soda, so that people can drink them like a seltzer throughout their day, but it's more fun and more delicious than just a water. So I drink it in the morning. I drink with my lunch, my dinner, at night, because there's no caffeine, so you don't have to worry about that. A lot of people use it, as as a mocktail and or just mixer to go with their drinks. That's right. And instead of drinking wine or whatever alcohol you have a healthier version of that. So there's no limit to how people incorporate Wild Wonder in their lives. And we're actually always learning more about how they're drinking it. It's super interesting. We are also carried by some of the most health conscious companies like Google and Facebook and Netflix and LinkedIn. So when people are working in the office, and there are some people that are returning to offices these days, they can drink them throughout the work day and get a bit of energy as well from the carbonation. So it's just a water alternative. It can be a soda alternative. It's just healthier than what you typically have.
Yeah, and coffee alternative too when you're going back and forth to the snack room. You mentioned a wine alternative. You can pour this into a wine glass, sip it. Like for me, my first several months of sobriety, I was drinking seltzer water out of a wine glass, and that was such a calming transition to watch TV, movie, have a candle going, and have my wine glass without my wine. And
then the guava rose would be a really good alternative for that, because some of our customers who are subscribers, they're always saying, oh, this is like a rosé alternative because of the floral notes. So pour over ice. We actually just last weekend were part of a benefit tasting event. It's called Play by Place, based in San Francisco, and we actually served guava rose mocktails that were such a hit. Everyone was loving it because there's, you can certainly drink alcohol, but hey, this is a healthier version. So, and then we've got enough flavors and aromas in there to keep it interesting. So that's definitely something that, you can easily buy a box of guava rose cans, pour over ice, maybe sprinkle some rose petals over that if you're feeling fancy.
We like fancy on the mocks because it's all about, I talk about what you can add to your non-alcohol drinks as opposed to thinking about what has been taken away. Like, forget the alcohol. What can you do? What kind of glass? What kind of garnish? Right. What kind of ice?
Totally.
So I love that you mentioned the rose petals. Now, so you were inspired by grandma and her recipes. Mm-hmm. How did you get the recipes right, and how long did that take? What challenges did you have? Were you in a kitchen? Like, did you just was it quick because you had a base from grandma, or was it still like, this is all right, this is we got to get all those flavors right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, honestly, these cans don't taste that much like grandma's tonics. I think grandma's tonics would not be a very approachable drink, just because I'm used to drinking it. But not everyone would be, I guess, most people probably find that an acquired taste, and which is kind of the problem that we're trying to solve here. Is a lot of the healthy beverages, with a lot of these really healthy ingredients, like maybe it's probiotics, maybe it's herbs, they're not that approachable, and they're not really as enjoyable. So we really want to broaden the market and make all these functional ingredients really fun, right? So I basically made everything in my kitchen. I'm a foodie and I make a lot of things. So it's not hard for me to concoct something, and not to say it's easy either, but I, first started pear turmeric. The one that you're drinking was actually my first flavor. So I knew that turmeric is very good for you. It's anti-inflammatory. I take it on a daily basis. So I wanted to incorporate that into a beverage so you don't have to take pills. And pear is interesting to me. So I honestly can't remember how I came up with the flavor. I think it was more just like, I'm feeling like pear today. So, and I think it would do well with turmeric. So I'm generally pretty good with flavor combinations, or figuring out what goes well, what pairs well with what ingredients. So that was my first flavor, and then followed by lemon ginger. So I literally just, purchased fresh juice and purees, brew tea, and put all the functional ingredients together, and I would have all my friends taste them. And obviously the first few iterations were pretty terrible, but they're my friends, so they're not going to fault me for it. And they would drink it and give me feedback. And I definitely remember in the early days, some friends were like, this is, when is like iteration 10 coming out? Yeah, so then that's how it really started. And then I started actually doing a lot of sampling with the health conscious offices. I, would have a little cart at Google and serve it to the employees. People give me feedback, and it kind of started from there, and then people loved it. I would say Square was my first customer, Square, the company, and
that's so cool.
Yeah, so it was funny because they had this big food fair, and the chef somehow discovered me at a sampling event, loved it, invited me. And, I actually had no product at the time. So I basically bought these swing top bottles from Amazon. I made the drinks, and I actually hand labeled something, basically just to make the product look real and legit. Showed up with a cooler, no product except for, these drinks I made in my kitchen. And then, I see all the brands, all these national brands, very established, like Kind Bar, Laura Bar, or like at the time there were, Hint Water, LaCroix. And basically the employees would taste everything, and they would vote on who they want, what they want in the office, and what brand they like to consume on a daily basis. And they actually picked me. So and that was kind of the moment when I was like, wow, people like this stuff. And I have something here, and it's healthy and it's delicious. And for me to go in there with all these big brands, and with no product at the time and no marketing, and they like the drink, so that's how it started. And then we started stocking all these offices, basically stocked, I want to say, over 300 offices. I stopped counting, but we would just get orders, and then Google signed up, and then Uber and Netflix and LinkedIn. So we knew that this is healthy, and this is something that people are looking for. It's more interesting than just your typical water, because a lot of people get bored with that. And I personally actually don't consume that much water, because I do find it boring, and I always like something interesting, some flavor. And then it's also very low sugar, so 6 grams of sugar in a can, and that's much lower than in a kombucha is 15 to 20 grams of sugar, and the juice or soda obviously would have 40 plus grams of sugar. So you really shouldn't be drinking that much. And wildwonder, you don't have to feel guilty drinking it. It gives you a boost with all these benefits. So that's how I grew. And then, employees started asking me, where can we buy the drinks outside the office? Last year we launched in retail, and then especially with COVID, we launched online as well. And now we're live on Amazon. Our drinks can ship nationally through our website as well. Yeah, it's just been growing. I think, we are really serving a need for people. And obviously also, the reason we're here is because we're getting really good demand from the sober curious and the sober living community, because there's just not that many options out there. I was just at Berkeley Bowl the other day. One of our customers, it's an iconic grocery chain in California, in Berkeley, and I was by the shelf and someone's literally putting 10 cans of Wild Wonder in their cart, and I just stood there. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I asked her, I was like, how are you drinking our product? And she said, I'm buying this for my husband who's been sober and is trying really hard to find, interesting beverages as an alternative. And, there's clearly a need, there's clearly a community out here that loves our drink. So we'd love to share more. And obviously we'd love to share, our drinks with this community.
That is so great. And you're so right. The sober and sober curious communities are looking for new and creative and different. And, when I first tried your product, like I was like, okay, what does this taste like? What is it similar to? Right. And at first I'm like, okay, maybe kombucha, but kombucha is so much stronger. There was definitely more effervescence or bubbles or something. Like it's almost more harsh to Wild Wonder. And I was just like, oh wow, like I love it. And I brought it to a recent event here in Charlotte with some of the On the Mocks community, where we got together for candle making, where we typically would have our rosé or our champagne, and I brought a bunch of cans for, and it just nice. Everybody enjoyed. Yeah, that was super fun. And so it's just, I love that you said that I can have more than one in one day, because I was like, because it's, you do work. I mean, I'm over here pregnant. I'm counting my coffee. I'm counting my glasses of water,
Yeah, well, go crazy. We don't have any caffeine, so anyone can drink them. And actually it's great for kids as well. So I know a lot of our customers are parents who are trying to serve healthy beverages to their kids. They don't want to serve their kids a juice that's got like 40 grams of sugar in a pack, or soda, obviously. And then there's LaCroix, a lot of people are drinking, but some kids are like, well, I want more flavor. So this is also a great alternative for that.
Now, can you tell me, so some of them say antioxidants, some say prebiotic, some are probiotic. The difference between prebiotic and probiotic?
Yeah, great question. So obviously people are more familiar with probiotics versus, the healthy gut bacteria. We all have them, and we're always trying to boost with more probiotics. It has great, I don't know if everyone knows here, but gut health impacts all aspects of our wellness. 70% of our immunity is actually in our gut, and it affects our brain health, our mood, digestion, obviously, but goes beyond just digestion and immunity. So probiotics is definitely important, but prebiotics is actually the food for probiotics. Probiotics essentially fiber, and obviously similar to humans, we all need food to survive, and without prebiotics or probiotics that actually aren't that effective. So it's really important to actually take more fiber and take more prebiotics with your probiotics. So we actually save you the work and just say, hey, we'll put the two crucial components to healthy gut all in one can. You get your probiotics, you get your prebiotics. In that way, it's a more comprehensive, holistic approach to gut health. And we actually worked on our formulation with microbiome experts. So we feel really good about just how healthy and holistic it is. And the other thing is Americans, actually 70% of Americans have digestive issues, and 90% of Americans lack fiber in their diet. We don't eat enough vegetables. We don't obviously have great sources of all these better for you ingredients like prebiotics and probiotics, which is why we take supplements, right? But I'm not a fan of pills, and it's hard for me to swallow pills. So I like to incorporate them in these ingredients in a delicious beverage. But yeah, like prebiotics is actually gaining a lot of popularity because fiber is not just for, people who are old, like I take fiber, I don't have any fiber. I know my grandparents take fiber, that's why I say that. But it's actually super important for gut health and just overall wellness.
No, that's great. I have been adding spinach and fiber to some smoothies that I'm kind of, even when I'm not hungry, trying to forcing myself to have because of pregnancy. And it's like, I'm definitely more aware of what I wasn't doing before, like what habits I'd broken since I was a child, where my mom was, making sure I checked all the boxes,
Yeah.
Great that you're putting so much in a can. So we have now we have got, is there 6 flavors, 7?
They have 5. So yeah, you see 2 of the top flavors in the bag: guava rose, mango turmeric, and peach ginger. That's our prebiotic and probiotic line. You had mentioned antioxidants, so that's our that's pear turmeric and lemon ginger, and the antioxidants are derived from teas and herbs. We actually freshly brew the teas and herbs. So there's honey bush tea in some of the the flavors, rooibos tea. There's turmeric root we brew, ginger root. So all of these are high in antioxidants, so that's really great for immunity.
Okay, awesome. Now I know you transitioned from glasses to cans, or do you still have glasses, or have you shifted
Only
over
cans now?
Okay, yeah, and these are great and convenient. Do you have any other flavors in the works that might be coming around the corner that?
Yeah, no, we do actually. We're working on something new, and we're super excited about it. We're gonna launch probably early next year, March timeframe. I can't tell you too much about it, but definitely, I would say follow our journey, follow us on social media. We're gonna start revealing something come the new year, and we'll do a launch campaign around that. So really excited about this new flavor because we've worked a lot on it already and have a lot more work to do.
That is so awesome. Thank you for sharing that little tidbit. I mean, there's so many people here that need to try it for the first time. So all 5 of those flavors are new to us. And now packaging. I love to ask this question because I've got kind of a mark for brain. I love the creativity behind, not just the story, first of all, but you moved from bottles to cans, which is just smart as far as shipping and heaviness and cost.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like it's so much lighter. It's easier to ship. It's more environmentally friendly. Also, just from a consumer's perspective, like if you think about a heavy glass bottle, it is premium, but it almost feels wasteful to go through a lot of heavy bottles throughout the day. And people are so used to drinking seltzers these days. So having a can is more sessionable, and it feels like, hey, this will replace your water. You can have multiple a day. And I don't feel wasteful, tossing 1 or 2 or even 5 in our recycling bin a day. So I definitely, the lighter packaging, the cans are such a good switch for us, as less breakable as well. So it's easier to ship. No more complaints about people getting broken glass in the mail, which had happened to us before.
Yeah, and increase the cost of shipping, either on the consumer side or the business side, whatever that may be. The colors, the branding, of this has it evolved to this? Was it something from the beginning? When did you launch? Was this 1 year ago, 2 years?
Yeah, so wildwonder, we launched in retail. Online was more consumer facing about 2 years ago. Last year, actually, March. It was a good timing because that was like literally at the beginning of COVID. So we actually launched on International Women's Day, so March 8th, 2020, in retail online, because it's meaningful to me, right? Because obviously it's female minority founded, and part of our mission is to really uplift the marginalized communities. So, you know, you probably know this, it's mission driven. 5% of profits from every can actually goes to causes that empower female and marginalized communities. So I was very thoughtful about, you know, when we want to launch, who we want to partner with, who we want to work with in general. We worked with a female founded a design team, local team, to really come up with the branding and design, and also with female and minority advisors, marketing consultants on the design and marketing. So everything is really thoughtful, and we want to continue to uplift that community, not just through donations and partnerships, but also like our team, right? So yeah, but you know, to answer your question, I had this beverage business for total about 4 years. The first 2 years were primarily in offices. So people really couldn't access us unless you worked at a Google or Facebook or LinkedIn of sorts. So I wanted to make this accessible and make wellness, gut health more accessible to everyone, which means we should, we would launch in retail. We would, have more points of distribution so people can actually purchase us outside an office in Silicon Valley,
Which leads to a great question. So people can find you now directly on your website, and we have a promo code for that. I'll drop the link and everything in the comments below. But I think you also mentioned Amazon, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're in some local stores in California, but soon you're
so great question. I don't know where most of the On the Mox community is. So the easiest way to get us is probably on Amazon and also on our websites. We ship nationally, and we are sold in retail locations in, I would say, 3 regions, mostly on the West Coast. So we're in the Pacific Northwest region, and Northern California, which is where we're based. And we're sold in some stores, Sprout stores in the Rocky Mountains area. And we're expanding to Southern California with Irwan and, specialty retailers. So, for people who we're also launching on the East Coast starting in January. We have a big retail launch coming up, but in general, Amazon has pretty fast shipping. They currently carry our 3 top flavors, the guava rose, mango, turmeric, and peach ginger, as well as our variety pack. And, of course, about the Mocktail Mixer Kit that's on our website. We can also share the links with folks. It's basically, we launched that. I want to say, obviously last year with COVID, there were a lot of lifestyle changes. Stress led to some folks actually increasing their alcohol consumption, and then people started looking for alcohol alternatives to spice up their day while maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Actually, I have a lot of friends who became sober curious and sober living as well. Started getting off alcohol. I personally am allergic to alcohol, so I don't drink. I drink a lot of different non-alcoholic beverages to really keep things interesting. So we actually launched the Mocktail Mixer Kit with, basically includes 4 of our drinks. And then we worked with local hospitality workers and cocktail makers to really make interesting recipes with our drinks. So we have a recipe book in the mixer set as well that includes recipes for both cocktail and mocktail, depending on what people like, and a shaker set. So for people who don't have a shaker, a muddler, so we include that as well. And we launched that last year. It's been super popular. A lot of people were buying as gifts, especially with the holidays coming up. We're seeing an uptick in sales as well. And then so that's something that we're going to be launching on Amazon soon. So you'll be able to access that not just from our website, but also on Amazon. And you had mentioned the promo. So I want to also mention that we're super excited to launch this Dry January campaign, where our community will be able to share ways they're incorporating wildwonder into their lives. So we're actually offering a special promo to the On the Mox community. So it's for the first 50 people who claim this offer via the link that we'll be sharing. Is a Google form to fill out, basically your name and address. We're sending out a free sample box of Wild Wonder drinks for you to try at home. And we love to be part of your dry January or sober journey. And we'd love to also hear from anyone who's tried our drinks. You can obviously tag us or send feedback directly to me or anyone at Wild Wonder via social. So that's something that I want to also offer to this community, because obviously I love what you're doing, Christine. And, I know a lot of people who are on this journey. So, definitely want to, do as much as we can to help people to, live a healthier lifestyle while still have this option to be entertained and, have interesting flavors.
Yeah. Well, I'm like full of emotion. I'm goosebumps.
Oh,
Thank you. That's really wonderful.
of course.
It's really, really wonderful. I know that people are going to be really excited to try it. Yay. So thank you.
Yeah, no, totally. And we want to be part of this journey for everyone, and with people. And it's always so emotional for me and very gratifying to know that our drinks are helping people in some way or changing someone's lives. We get emails from people who are saying, hey, it really helped with my digestion. I don't know what you put in there, but it helped in a certain way. So I think healthy living and just being in a better mood is so important these days, with everything going on. So if there is something that can brighten up people's day, and that's why we're here. And our whole mission is actually to elevate your being and your doing, right? So it's your being living healthier, consuming healthier, and our drinks are here for that. At the same time, we're doing something good for the community by just changing lives in small ways.
Yeah, you said brighten someone's day, and I just think that that's so spot on for how I feel with your brand. I already got a little sense of your personality and your drive from social media, but you've got a good heart and a really strong mission.
Thank you.
And so that's the story that I really love to share when people are thinking about what their drink options are. It's yes, it's flavor. Yes, it's how does it help me? It's all of that. That it's this whole package that we get to fill our alcohol-free life with, which I like to say is so fun. I was so afraid that the fun would stop when I gave up alcohol, but no, it's beginning.
Yeah, most people are pleasantly surprised, actually.
Right. So, well, we covered a lot, and then we're gonna make sure that everyone's following you on, on Instagram and stuff. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention or share to wrap things up that we didn't cover maybe?
Yeah, so I definitely, obviously the most important thing was part of this dry January campaign, which I already mentioned. So definitely would love to connect with some folks here. Feel free to follow us on social. We're at Drink Wild Wonder. So we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, Facebook, obviously LinkedIn as well. We do a lot of behind the scenes, and I talk a lot about just what it's like to be a small business owner and female founder, and a lot of stories as well. So we love to connect directly with people. We always welcome messages, any feedback. So especially for folks who are, claiming the first one of the first 50 boxes of drinks, feel free to send us like direct emails, messages. Tell us what you think. We love to see, what flavors you like, and any just feedback on the packaging and the flavor. We're a small team, so sometimes I'm in the DMs and Anthony's obviously in the DMs. We talk directly to our customers, and we grow together. So we want to invite people to this journey with us and help us grow to the next stage and serve better for your drinks to more people, and alcohol alternatives to more people. Yeah.
Well, thank you. You're definitely talking to the right audience, and so excited for them for everyone to try this. This has been a pleasure. You were so fun.
Thank you. I had so much fun talking to you, and thank you for all the great work you're doing. And I love following you as well, and hearing about your journey is super inspiring.
Awesome. Well, I'm a foodie too, and Yeah, it's just really great to know you. So this has been recording through Facebook. The link will be saved
Mhm.
there so we can revisit it, and we'll also, share it around. Everyone should make sure that they jump on that Google Doc and enter their information to be one of the first 50.
Yes,
Right?
that's right. That's right.
All right, very cool. And thank you, Anthony, who's behind the scenes, who's been a wonderful worker from your team. All right, I will see you online.
Yeah, thank you for having us. I had a lot of fun. Thanks, Christine. Bye.
You too. Bye.